Welcome to The Magic of You on 105.9 Seaside FM.
Good morning and welcome to The Magic of You for the third day of May. I'm Krista Cook and I'm here with my dear co-host Holly Poole. Good morning, Holly.
Good morning.
Today we are talking about chakras, and we're going to talk about the colors of chakras, how we can tune our chakras up, what are some signs that our chakras are out of balance. So we're really going to have some fun. This is a topic that is of great interest, and really it's very insightful.
Well, when we think about it, our body, our physical body, is actually surrounded by an energy field that extends often as far out as our outstretched arms. So if people are standing, if you stand out and you put your arms all out, your aura, the electromagnetic field that's going on around you, actually extends at least out to your fingertips.
Now, some people can see those auras, can't they?
That's correct. Yeah, they can. And in proper conditions, pretty much anyone can see. If you have a person and say they stand right behind like just a clear wall, so no wallpaper and so on, and the right lighting, you can actually see the auras. But those electromagnetic fields, it's so interesting because there's lots of information on the internet. People using cell phones, and how that interrupts with the aura. If you looked at the aura of somebody, and you know, we just talked about going right out to the fingertips, and they're using a cell phone, you can see the aura breaks. It comes over the top of the head, say they got it up by their ear, for instance, goes to the top of their head, then there's a complete break in the aura, at least down to the elbow. And it looks like somebody has burned a hole right in through the aura. So I often go through a mall, you know, and I'm watching people going along with those Bluetooth phones on there, sitting on their ears.
They're just sitting there.
And I'm thinking, oh my heavens, like, have they not thought about the electromagnetic waves that's going constantly, what that's doing to their brain?
I would say they really, or they just don't believe that it's really doing them any harm, right?
There is something, you know, people say, well, if I can't see it and I can't touch it and I can't feel it, then it can't be right.
It can't be real.
But if you want to look up what's called Kirlian photography, Kirlian, it's a very interesting photography where they were able to actually see the auras of plants. And how plants, you know, I grew up in Newfoundland, of course, where we were always told to talk to your plants.
Oh, gosh,
and the plants grow really well.
Yes.
Well, Kirlian photography actually does show the reaction of plants with the anger around them and with softness around them. And when you cut into a plant, the Kirlian photography was able to actually photograph that.
I am going to have to check that out. That's very interesting. I'd have to see that.
It's absolutely amazing. And how so many things go on around us that we're just not in tune with. And, you know, you often think about somebody standing in my space. Well, what they're doing is they're standing in your aura. You know, if they're standing anywhere within the arm reach, they're within your aura. And lots of times we automatically just back up. I was at a show in Brooklyn this weekend with a booth, and people would come into the booth, and I found sometimes I would just back up, and most times, because it was like they were right in my aura.
Now, say, for example, you could take two different people. One could be a stranger, one could be a family member, and each of them take their turn to stand in the aura. And, of course, you'll have far more tolerance for the one that you love versus the stranger. But it is definitely, it's aggravating.
Plus, we are all at different vibrations. It doesn't make one better than anybody else. It's just that we're all on different vibrations. And a lot of the vibrations has to do with our spiritual growth, you know, how much we've opened up to the divine, how much we're listening to our intuition, and so on. And let's face it, there are some people on this earth that's just plain negative. And when negative people come and stand within your aura, you feel like you're drained. I mean, if you ever gone to coffee with a girlfriend or a boyfriend or whatever, and you've left the coffee and you've gone, oh my heavens, do I ever feel tired?
Yeah, just suck the life right out of you.
And that's part of those electromagnetic fields that goes on. We also believe that over 90%, if not actually 100%, but over 90% of our diseases within our body actually start in the emotional aura first. There's many layers to the aura. But most of our illnesses, and we'll talk about those today, and we'll talk about, what's connected to it. But most of our illnesses start from an emotional basis first. And when I have a client and say they've come in and they're dealing with cancer, or they're dealing with, bad feet or shoulder problems, or automatically I ask people to stop for a moment and think about 6 to 8 months previous to that illness kicking in. And I'll often say, so from an emotional perspective, what were you going through? Because what happens is that our biography becomes our biology.
Oh.
Not always, but lots of times it does. So we need to take a thought about that. I had a guy stop by the booth on the weekend, and he talked about a frozen shoulder. And I said, so shoulders, when we have problems with our shoulders are about carrying the load for somebody within our life. And so I said, well, what shoulder are you dealing with? And he said, my right shoulder. And I said, so what's the issue going on with Dad? Because anything going on our right side of our body is often connected to a male issue.
What was his reaction, Holly?
Well, you see, his mouth just kind of dropped open, and he said, oh my heavens, you really are psychic. And I said, that had nothing to do with psychic ability.
That's just knowledge?
That's just knowledge of working with the energy world and knowing full well that it had to be a male. I mean, that's why I didn't guess mother, what was going on with Mom.
Yeah.
Anything on our right side. So quite often if we have a right shoulder problem, a right hand issue, right leg issue.
I have a right knee issue.
Then it's about a male moving forward in life.
Really?
Right? Yeah, our knees are all about moving forward.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway,
okay.
that could be a whole different show. But there are some principles of health that I really want us to think about before we get into talking about the chakras. And I've already talked about the first one, which is our biography becomes our biology. Our second one is about our personal power is necessary for health. And that's about the fact of taking up your power. When you go to see your doctor or minister or policeman or anybody, be careful of giving away your power. When people say, you need to take this drug or you need to do this with your life, don't just go, yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir, and go home and just do it. You need to be a part of that. Ask questions. Why? What are the side effects? What else could I do? Could there be another problem? Could I have some more tests? And take up that personal power,
I think, in my opinion only, that my mom and her generation very much have that complete faith in the medical system. They're just, well, the doctor can't be wrong. He's a doctor.
But the doctor is human. I think we've given our doctors, ministers, policemen, teachers, I think we've given them that godlike feature. And the difficulty, that must be really difficult from their perspective.
Oh, gosh, yes.
Because let's face it, our doctors are human. They make mistakes just like the rest of us. And so it's important to have that personal power to bring that in. And thirdly, the principle I want us to remember that you alone can help yourself heal. If you take yourself outside of that healing prospect, I'm just going to let your psychologist do it, or just going to let your doctor do it, or just going to let your minister do it, that doesn't work. Because even with people doing energy work, people say, can you heal me? No, I can't heal you. I can help you heal you, but I can't heal you. Your doctor can't heal you. The drugs is not going to heal you. You are the one healing you. Your doctor can help. As an energy therapist, I can help. But the person who heals you is you.
And I guess with all the different modalities that we've presented all over the past year, just again, ways in which you can open your mind and be able to see these and their power and their impact.
So just thinking about that young man who came into the booth, talking about the frozen shoulder. So I had said to him, I can help him with that frozen shoulder. He's the one that's going to heal it, but I can help him work through. I can channel energy to help get the energy going. But he's the one that's going to have to do a fair amount of work here. And it's the same, we had Froni Leroy on.
Yes.
Who's a naturopathic doctor. And I mean, she's just absolutely fabulous. But she can't heal someone. You have to heal you. But she can help you. She can facilitate it happening.
And this is why we have to be responsible for our own health. And it's your body. Mm-hmm. Be part of that healing and really by asking questions, or also there's so many other options that are available that can be complementary to your healing.
Absolutely. It's kind of like, remember I broke my foot this summer.
Yes.
And my doctor automatically told me that because of the difficult break that it was, there was a possibility of being in a cast for 5 months. I thought, oh my goodness, I'll shoot me if I have to be in a cast for 5 months. But I immediately said, no, I won't. I will work on it. I will work to create the changes in it. No, I needed them. We need our doctors for our physical health.
Of course.
But I wasn't just going to lay down and go, oh, well, I guess I'm going to be in a cast for 5 months.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. Now, with the chakras, we are going to get more detailed in terms of going through. We have 7 chakras.
We actually have probably 28 or 30 chakras, but there are 7 main chakras. Because we have chakras within our hands. If you just take your hands and rub them together, your hands will tingle. They're the chakras in the hands that are tingling. But there are 7 main chakras. And so if you watch an energy worker work, for instance, you will always see him or her rub their hands first. And they're igniting the chakras within their hands. And so people, let's say you have a bad knee. Rub your hands together. You don't have to have any formal training. Rub your hands together and just lay it close to your knee. The chakra within your hand is going to help vibrate the energy within your knee. But anyway, let's get to the 7 main chakras. We could talk about this and go all over the place all day.
All right. Are we going to start with the root chakra?
We are. We call it the root chakra, the base chakra. Generally is a color red. And the root chakra is all about our tribal power. It's all about our fears are there. Our attitudes are there. Family traditions, morals are usually found in that chakra. So first of all, what is a chakra? Chakra, if you could see it, and unfortunately we haven't been able to see it, but you can certainly feel it if you use a pendulum. But the chakra is like a circular disc of energy. So it's kind of like a round disc, and it goes from the front of our body directly to the back. Our root chakra is where our legs join, up in the top part of our legs. So it is our root chakra. Here is where we address lots of times our personal issues. We get into loyalty. We get into justice. Sometimes if we nurture bitterness, that's where it'll settle, right there. And so oftentimes we'll have sciatic nerve problems can get into there. When we experience pain, it's often blocked energy. And this is where we address, growing up, our growing up issues as to what we believe today. And lots of times, if we have grown up in a Christianity home and we change our belief systems for whatever reason, we often struggle with that. And that's where it would be in the root chakra.
Okay. Holly, it is time for a break. What we'll do is we'll disappear for a minute. We'll come back and we'll talk about those chakras. Thank you for returning for our last half of The Magic of You for May 3rd. We are talking about chakras, Holly and I, and we have just chatted about our root chakra. Now, that means we have 6 chakras left, and I am going to say, Holly, our next one will be the spleen chakra.
Yes, it's actually the orange. It's the color of the orange. It's called the sacral chakra.
Sacral.
And that's about power of relationships. Anytime we go through any of these colors, too, if there's any color that you go, ooh, like I really, really hate that chakra, there may be a problem going on I hate that color. There may be a problem going on in that chakra.
Oh.
So with orange, it takes us actually from our pubic bone up to our belly button. Anything within that area. Often it can bring in lower back pain, kidney disease can come from here quite often. Power of relationships, and often it's about giving too much. Giving too much and not necessarily taking enough for self. And we find that sometimes with people who deal with diabetes. They don't allow enough sweetness within their own life. All they do is give away the sweetness to everybody else. There's a bit of a control issue that goes along with there as well. And power of choice. Often people who deal with disease or issues in this area feel they have no choice in life. They're always stuck, They feel there's no choices. I don't have any choices. And so because of that, it sometimes can cut down that energy. That's a huge creative energy as well.
Oh, okay. Excellent.
So let's move to the third chakra, and that's the chakra called the solar plexus, and that's yellow. That's a yellow energy, and that's all about emotions. Now, people who are water signs, Cancer specifically, and Scorpio and Pisces sometimes have a bit of a problem with this chakra because it's the chakra of the personal power. It's the chakra of the emotional. Sometimes it's about self-esteem issues and so on. And when we are upset, what do we generally do? We hold on to our stomach, and which is exactly where the solar plex chakra is. When we hold on to our stomach, what do? We instill the emotions flat right on in there. And how do we feel about ourselves? Whether we respect ourselves. So acceptance is a huge part. And that's an interesting chakra because our culture actually believes that healing painful childhood memories requires a lot of years of psychotherapy. But that doesn't have to be the case. And sometimes that's what I have a bit of an issue with some associations because they go back over the abuse, the whatever was going on in life. And sure, was it a difficult time? No one's not saying it wasn't difficult. But the more we talk about it, the more energy we give it.
We feed it.
Right. We feed it, and it becomes who we are. A number of weeks ago, I did a talk, and this lady was at the front door, and I walked in the door, and she shook my hand, and she said, "Hi, my name is," we'll call her Doris. "My name is Doris. I'm a fourth-time cancer survivor." That became her...
Fourth time?
But that became her identity. So she wasn't willing to let go of that disease. I mean, fighting cancer 4 times is, oh my God, absolutely amazing, just wonderful. But it became an identity for her. So she probably had a fair amount of energy stuck within that chakra because it was a self-esteem.
Oh my gosh. I mean, these are scientifically based in terms of existence. We've certainly have seen the physical, sort of that tangible view of auras when we had Alana from Casa Roma last year. She had an aura chakra machine and you could see it. It was very tangible. So this is great information. Now, ironically, our next one is the throat or the heart.
The heart chakra. But before we move on, and I'm going to give this again at the end of the show, everybody on their bookshelf needs one particular book, and the book is called You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. And in the center of that book is every single illness you could possibly in the walls of the world ever imagine, and it tells you what the emotional aspect is with that illness.
Ooh.
So I will give that information again as we get closer to the end. So if you need to grab a piece of paper and a pen, but everybody needs that on their bookshelf. So let's go to the heart chakra. That's the emotional power, and that's all about forgiveness and compassion. And when we have heart issues, it's about love, it's about compassion, it's about forgiveness. And I want to talk about forgiveness just for a couple of seconds. When we forgive someone, it doesn't mean to say that we're saying it didn't happen. That's not what we're saying.
Definitely not what we're saying.
No, absolutely not. But we do forgiveness more for ourselves than anything else, because it allows the heart, when that heart aches, heart attacks often are created by disappointment in life. Our lungs are in that area. Our lungs is often our grieving place. And this is why often when people are older, they lose a spouse, sometimes they develop pneumonia, is because the lungs hold on to the grief and the grieving and the loving of oneself. I would say if there is anything that I hear more than anything else is I want someone to love me. And my comment is, do you love you? It's very difficult for someone to love you if you don't love you.
Isn't that just a journey in life, though? I mean, let's face it, take as a female from your teens to now, I mean, I certainly haven't loved myself the same amount the whole time.
Well, I hope you do now.
Well, it's a place where you get to. Now, for me, it's been a place, it's been a destination.
Absolutely. Because I have something that I call and refer to as a woundology. And I think sometimes television talk shows are set up to talk about people's wounds. And we talk about how much life has been difficult and bad and so on for us. And that's woundology, because we become who life had been for us. So now we've definitely got our biology becoming our biography.
Well, I have to say, I'm not perfect. Some negative things still slip out of my mouth. But honestly, I have cut back on that probably 99% because I do not want in any way to attract more negative. So it's just being conscious, so aware of that.
It is. And where these pains show up in our body, again, can help us identify. So let's go to the fifth chakra. And the fifth chakra is the throat chakra. And the throat chakra, let's come back to the heart for a second. I didn't give a color. So sometimes with the heart, it can be either pink or green. Either of those colors work. Let's go to the throat chakra. The throat, talking about throat chakra, is a pale blue color. And this is where we get into the throat, the thyroid, the esophagus, the teeth, the mouth, the jaw. And usually I find if people have some issues with throat chakras, I often say to them, what is it you are not saying? You're keeping those words in there and you're not letting it out. And it's about faith, having faith and being true to self. You know how we say, are you speaking your truth? Because talking the talk is a piece of cake.
Exactly.
Walking the talk is where it's at, right?
Action.
And the throat chakra, too, sometimes we question when there's issues there, who's in charge of my life here, And sometimes people are afraid to get connected to the neck chakra, which is right between the eyebrow. It's called the third eye chakra. And that particular chakra is a deeper blue. So it would be like a sodalite stone. And that's the mind, the intuition, the insight, the wisdom, our eyes, our ears, our nose, the brain, the pineal gland comes in there. And that's the power of the mind. And sometimes we have a struggle between that particular chakra and our heart. What's our intuition telling us?
Mind over.
And what's our heart telling us? Open to receiving guidance. And one great way to open that chakra is to actually take your finger, push it up between your eyebrows, and that opens that particular chakra.
My third eye is now open.
It's now open. But I'm going to tell you, if you're going into malls and things like that, you're not going to want your third eye open. because
so
it's just
if
going to be
push down, does it close it?
It does.
Oh no!
Yeah,
okay,
it
closing third eye.
And the last chakra is our crown chakra, and that's our spiritual connection to the divine. And that's the top of our head. And sometimes that's where we can get into hair loss and things of that nature. Prayer, meditation, sometimes fears of spiritual abandonment. You know, we think, why has God left me and created these problems within our life? Mm-hmm. That's often a closing down of that chakra. But the interesting thing, and I'm going to roll it up here, but the interesting thing is when a baby is born, that is the last chakra to close over, because it is the connection to the divine. And that's the purple color.
So, one big question. How do we know if our chakras are blocked? I'm presuming by some of the physical symptoms.
Correct, yeah.
And how do we unblock our chakras? We can't leave them without that.
Well, the thing is very quickly I gave you colors for each chakra. Wear something of that color. So if you believe there's a problem with a root chakra, wear a fair amount of more red. Or if you want creativity, use the yellow chakra we talked about. Or if you want to open your heart, use that pale pink or green color. Carry around stones, gemstones of those exact same colors. And that will help. But work on, if you're feeling any sense of illness, work on physically asking your body, what are you trying to tell me? And that book one last time,
yes.
You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. Excellent, excellent book.
Yes, I must purchase that. Now, I have to say, it's been a quick half hour. We just want to let you know that on June 5th, we are going to be having a 1-year anniversary party that will be taking place at the Armdale Yacht Club, and it will be by tickets. We are very excited. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. We are just working out details, and by next week's show, you're going to hear it all. If you'd like to reach us, you can do so through themagicofyou.ca. Through that website, you can access YouTube or iTunes podcasts or Facebook. Our shows are on Blog Talk Radio, and as well, we have our guest links on our website, as well as the next, well, I guess, the promo for the following week's show. And lastly, many, many, many thanks to our sponsor, Body Talk Nova Scotia. Last words, Holly?
Last words is today is a new moon.
Today new beginnings.
New beginnings, new starts, opening new doors. Think of something new to do.
Oh, I love new moons. Awesome. Thank you, Holly. We have a quote on our way out. I want my inner truth to be the plumb line for the choices I make about my life, about the work that I do and how I do it, about the relationships I enter into and how I conduct them. That's by Parker J. Palmer. Until next week, remember, we all have the magic within us to create the reality we desire. Take care.
The Magic of You is a production of Voice Waves Atlantic.